In Venezuela on Thursday morning, President Nicolás Maduro began the deployment of the Independence 200 plan in defense of sovereignty under the slogan Active Resistance and Permanent Offensive. In Nepal, after 2 days of violent anti-government protest, the army lifted curfew as the military seeks to restore order. In Palestine, the number of people killed by the Israeli regime in the Gaza Strip exceeds 64,656, while the number of injured rises to 163,503. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela on Thursday morning, President Nicolás Maduro began the deployment of the Independence 200 plan in defense of sovereignty under the slogan Active Resistance and Permanent Offensive. Surrounded by the military high command, President Maduro highlighted the popular military unity in the development of the operation, which will include surprise national mobilization exercises on the 284 fronts of action and battle to safeguard and defend Venezuela from any international interference and aggression in the face of recent threats from the United States that undermine the stability and peace of the Venezuelan people. Also, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro highlighted that the country has food reserves for 101 days, the largest ever in the history of the South American nation. During a working day dedicated to national food security and sovereignty, President Maduro stressed that Venezuela has a new productive model and a diversified economy, highlighting that 90% of Venezuelan consumption is of national production. The executive added that food availability reached 99.1% in 2025, marking a clear milestone when compared to the 20% in 2017. The Venezuelan president reported that the gross domestic product is expected to reach 9% in 2025. Likewise, Maduro highlighted the resilience and hard work of the entire country to overcome the economic war.
In 8 years of work, of economical policies that was correct, we went from 20% to 99.1%, and I say 100%, with national production. Look, year 2018, 25%, 2019, 46%. 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, we went from 46 to 71. That's when the recuperation process started. 2021, 89. 2022, 92, 2023, 97.6, 2024, 98, and this year we continue growing to 99.1%.
Also in this context, the Venezuelan president called for popular unity and optimism to continue improving the country's economy.
My greetings to the popular power. Let's grow the spirit of optimism. Let's grow the faith in the victory of Venezuela. Let's make our relationship stronger between the people, the army, the business people, the police. Let's consolidate the union of the country, that with the blessing of God, Venezuela is destined to greatness, to peace, prosperity, and the happiness, the social infinite happiness that a noble people like from the ones in Venezuela has a right to. Son of liberators, and December is coming up, and we're celebrating from October the 1st the arrival of baby Jesus. We have here the gaita, and from September I'm saying in Venezuela it smells like Christmas. God bless Venezuela. Thank you.
Let's move on to other topics. In Argentina, the President Javier Milei sent to Congress the veto to the university financing law, a measure that generated an immediate rejection and the call for a national strike of universities for September 12th. The executive argues that the university financing law addresses resources in a generic way without detailing necessary credit amounts or indicating how expenditures would be met if resources were limited. However, the university community emphasizes that this justification ignores the current university crisis and insisted on the need to improve the university financing law, a responsible instrument that does not compromise the state fiscally. As an immediate response to the veto, the country's educators organization announced a march for September 12th. Also in Argentina, the President Javier Milei vetoed the pediatric emergency law, which seeks to increase funding for pediatric hospitals such as Garrahan. The Association of Professionals and Technicians said that Garrahan hospital workers will hold a press conference with the university community next Monday in front of Congress. They will demand that deputies and senators deal with and reject any presidential veto. If the Chamber of Deputies handles both vetoes, a federal march will take place in Buenos Aires and in the country's squares. The law for the declaration of sanitary emergency in pediatric health and national residences was approved by the Senate 2 weeks ago with 62 positive vetoes and votes and only 8 negative. In Russia, the Bolshoi State Academic Theater in Moscow celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Joinville Ballet School of Brazil. This outstanding event was attended by 35 students and theater professionals and included experts from classical ballets and the Russian premiere of the mini ballet Kauri by Brazilian choreographer William Almeida. The gala was directed by school's founder Vladimir Vasiliev and the prima ballerina of the Kazan Opera and Ballet Theater Amanda Gomez, who highlighted the mix of Russian and Brazilian dance traditions. Sergio Rodriguez dos Santos, Brazilian ambassador to Russia, emphasized the relevance of these events for both countries. We move on to China because it is getting ready to hold the second Shanghai International Festival of Lights from September 19th to October 18th. Under the theme Light Up Shanghai, the city will become an outdoor light gallery with nearly 180 themed activities, creating a unique narrative of light and shadow and fusing cultural heritage with immersive technology experiences. 16 sub-venues will offer a feast of lights for all visitors, including the Westbound Dome Arts Center, Westbound Theater, Huangpu River Banks, and Qiantan Business District. Activities include laser shows and 3D projections, exhibitions of more than 200 works by light and shadow artists from 19 countries, food festival, and music performances. And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In the United States, the $3 billion growth of President Donald Trump's fortune so far in 2025 explains his policies to encourage cryptocurrencies. The family business in the industry has boosted the fortune of the Republican tycoon and his son, Eric Trump, owner of the cryptocurrency mining company American Bitcoin. Since his return to the White House in January, Trump has reduced regular regulatory enforcement and signed legislation favorable to the use of cryptocurrencies, resulting in record private profits, rising his fortune to $7.3 billion. While for U.S. citizens the cost of living is rising, inflation is increasing, and unemployment rates are soaring for the first time since 2021. We stay in the United States, where details were leaked of secret pact between U.S. President Donald Trump and El Salvador President Nayib Bukele to deport migrants from the United States to El Salvador. According to the document, the Trump administration disbursed through the State Department a total of $40,760,000 so that Bukele would agree to the transfer of migrants. The deportees accused of belonging to the extinct Aragua train were sent to the maximum security anti-terrorist prison, the Confinement Center for Terrorism. The document prohibits the Bukele government from using funds for initiatives, programs, or organizations that support or defend the migrant caravans. The U.S. State Department will not assume responsibility for third-party claims related to damages from the agreement. Also in the United States, a shooting at the Evergreen High School in Colorado left at least 2 students critically wounded and the shooter dead from self-inflicted injuries. According to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, the suspect is a juvenile male who was also taken to the hospital with injuries. The office also informed that a preliminary investigation showed that the shootings took place inside and outside of the school and that the suspect used a handgun. It also reported that no law enforcement officers fired. Now let's take a look at some figures recorded since 2013 and published in September of this year in the context of violence in the U.S. country. According to evidence-based research from 2013 to now, at least 10,355 homicides and murders have been recorded, while a number of 18,921 injuries are recorded as well. Also, since 2013, about 300 mass shootings and 10 mass murders have been recorded. During these violent incidents, some 520 children between the ages of 0 and 11 years have been injured. In total, 2,716 adolescents between the ages of 12 and 17 were injured during violent attacks, while 809 cases of defensive use, at least 949 unintentional shootings have been recorded. In other topics, in Mexico, the explosion of a gas truck on the Concordia Bridge left so far 3 dead and 70 injured. According to Mexico City's Chief of Government, Clara Brugada, the list may be updated according to the medical needs of those admitted, and she assured that the authorities will strictly continue with the medical support to the victims of this event. The accident took place at 2:20 p.m. local time on the bridge of La Concordia in the mayor's office of Iztapalapa when a 1,500-liter gas tanker overturned. For his part, the Secretary of Citizen Security of Mexico City, Pablo Vázquez, said in statement to the media that the establishment of road closures and the presence of the forces of order to protect the area will continue. Let's go to Brazil, where the second day of the session in the Supreme Federal Court of the final verdict in the trial against former President Jair Bolsonaro for the January 2023 coup attempt ended with a favorable vote for him. On Wednesday, Brazilian Supreme Federal Court Justice Luis Fux called for the annulment of the case against former far-right President Jair Bolsonaro and his accomplices, stating a lack of jurisdiction of the court. On Tuesday, Justices Alexandre de Moraes and Flavio Dino were the first of the 5 magistrates to vote to convict Bolsonaro. The 2 remaining justices are expected to cast their votes on Thursday and give a final verdict on the case. If he receives 1 more vote to be convicted, Bolsonaro could face up to 43 years in prison. And we have a second short break coming up. Before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Nepal, after 2 days of violent anti-government protests, the army lifted curfew as the military seeks to restore order. In this scenario, the army took control of the Kathmandu and patrolled the streets, where representatives of the protesters engaged in dialogue with military officials. Following a virtual meeting attended by over 300 protest movement participants, the proposal to appoint the popular former Chief Justice Sushila Karki as leader of the interim government was upheld. The protest, which left nearly 30 people dead and over 1,000 injured, led to the resignation of Prime Minister Sharma Oli. In Palestine, the number of people killed by the Israeli regime in the Gaza Strip exceeds 64,656, while the number of injured rises to 163,503. Gazan health authorities reported in a statement that in the last 24 hours, 41 civilians have been killed and 184 injured in recent attacks by the Israeli occupation. The Tel Aviv Air Force deployed dozens of aircraft against the city of Gaza during the so-called Operation Gideon's Chariots 2, targeting more than 360 objectives. The Zionist army again warned of a future attack in northern Gaza, forcing residents of this region to evacuate once more the area immediately. Meanwhile, 19 children from Gaza in need of urgent medical care arrived in Jordan on Wednesday, accompanied by 47 family members and accompanying personnel. This is the 11th group of children from Gaza to be transferred to Jordan for medical treatment as part of the Jordanian Medical Corridor Initiative, which aims to support Palestinians. After receiving treatment, these children will return to Gaza with their families, while Jordan prepares to receive new patients under the initiative, which is implemented in cooperation with the World Health Organization. It is important to remember that the Zionist regime's blockade of Gaza has caused hospitals to collapse, making it impossible for these children to receive medical care through other means. Also on Wednesday, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, announced proposals to sanction extremist ministers in Israel as it's part of its measures in response to the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza. During her State of the Union address to the European Parliament, von der Leyen proposed the partial suspension of the trade association agreement between the European Union and Israel. The Commission will also pause bilateral support to the entity, although without affecting Israel's civil society or the work of the Holocaust Memory Center Yad Vashem. At the same time, von der Leyen announced the creation of a donor group for the Palestinians planned for next month, which will include a tool for the reconstruction of Gaza. In Yemen, a new series of Israeli airstrikes killed at least 35 people and injured more than 130, according to health ministry officials. Most of the fatalities were recorded in Sana'a, the Yemeni capital, where the bombings hit a military barracks and a gas station, according to the official report. Rescue teams are currently continuing to work among the rubble in the search for more victims and providing assistance to those affected. These attacks come just days after Houthi rebels carried out a drone attack on an Israeli airport. And with these informations, we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.